Okay, so here we have a quick review, or intro if this is the first time you're watching this, of the verb venir, which is to come. It's an irregular verb, and you need to make sure you remember all 6 forms of this, the je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, ils, and elles forms of these words, because, of course, you can't say, I'm coming, you're coming, he's come, they're coming, that kind of stuff, unless you know the various forms for that. So we did this in class, but let's make sure if you weren't there or this is the first time you got this down. Je viens, oops, and it did not pop up for some reason. Je viens, there we go. Je viens, I'm coming. You might want to copy this down into your verb chart on your workbook cover if you have the chance, because it's a quick reference there. Je viens, I'm coming. Then tu viens, spelled exactly the same. Viens, viens, with an S at the end, versus il and elle, he or she. Il and elle vient, this time instead of an S, it's a T at the end. But it sounds the same. Je viens, tu viens, il vient, I'm coming, you're coming, he's coming, or elle vient, she's coming. All right there for you. The next column again starts with the plural people. So nous, or we, or us. So nous, this starts to follow a pattern that you're more used to. Nous venons, that O-N-S ending that you're used to seeing. Nous venons. Vous, and then what ending almost always goes with vous is EZ, that EZ ending that you're used to seeing. And then, so it's vous venez, and then finally ils and elles. It's going to be a little different than you're used to. It does have the ENT at the end, but it has a double N in the middle. So ils viennent, or elles viennent. So the top few, or the first few, and the bottom one here all sound the same. Bien, 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 bien. If I say it quick, je viens, tu viens, il vient. You might be wondering, well, how can you tell the difference between il vient and il vient? Well, that usually comes from context. I wouldn't just say he's coming unless we had already talked about somebody who's on the way and you know who I'm talking about. Or I wouldn't just say they're coming unless we had again, a conversation or I was pointing or something so you knew that I was talking about a group of people that were coming. So il vient and il vient comes from context usually. In other words, the ideas that have gone before, so we know if I'm talking about a he or a they, or a she or a they. But if you do have to make it specific, they hit that N harder to make it difference to be heard, making the difference to be heard obvious. So il vient, I cut that N off. Il vient, I hit the N right there, so it's obvious which one I'm saying. So il vient, ils viennent. Hear the difference? It's like Canadien, Canadienne from French 1. Il vient, ils viennent. If it needs to be obvious. But again, it's usually from the sentence that we know if we're talking about a they or a he kind of a thing from conversation that we had already previously. So get those 6 forms memorized. Je viens, tu viens, il vient. Nous venons, vous venez, ils viennent. Because then we're going to add to the mix here coming from a place, which is this next one. Okay, je viens, I'm coming from the pool or from the beach, or I'm coming from the stadium, or I'm coming from the party, or whatever. You have to use the from the differently based on the gender of the place that's being come from. So if it's more than one place, it's going to be day. So anytime you have a les, like les Champs-Élysées, I'm coming from the, gosh, I can't think of places that might be more than one. I'm coming from the stores in the mall. You know, that would be a les, because you're talking about more than one. Then it's day. So in your process of thinking of this, if you see a de and a les, it becomes day and you're done. Okay? And anytime you have more than one, the plural ones are easier to use. It just becomes day. Just like O and les becomes O-A-U-X, you know, you're done with that. But if it's just one place or just one thing that is being come from, then you're going to use these constructions here. If it's masculine, singular, it's du. It contracts down to du. So je viens du stade. I'm coming from the stadium. Je viens du café. I'm coming from the cafe. Versus a feminine place, la, de and la together, stay de la, versus shortening up to du. So feminine is easy, it's a pattern that you're used to. De la. So I might say, je viens de la plage. Je viens de la bibliothèque. Je viens de la piscine. I'm coming from the pool, coming from the church, coming from the beach, and so on. Okay, I'm not church, I said library. Okay, and L apostrophe goes with vowel sound singular things. So if you have a word like église, l'église puts together, so de l'église stays the same. It doesn't shorten up to do or day. So when you have one thing, you got to be careful. Is it feminine or a vowel sound? Use those, don't contract it. If it's masculine and it's on no vowel sound, then you go do, and if it's more than one, it's day. So that's how that comes. This is from, I'm coming from the pool, or from the stores. Je viens des magasins. I'm coming from the stadium. From the together becomes du, so je viens du stade. Okay? I'm coming from the library. De la bibliothèque. De and la don't change, so it stays de la bibliothèque. I'm coming from the school. De l'école. De and le don't change, so it stays de l'école. Okay? That's how that works. I hope that makes sense to you. Make sure you got that down and do the workbook page that goes with that, which I believe is workbook page 187. Okay? Make sure you can do that on workbook page 187, and we will check that when we get back in class together. Go on to the next video, which will introduce using, talking about playing sports versus playing games.